I still remember the day everything changed. It was a Tuesday afternoon, and I was sitting in my tiny apartment staring at my laptop screen. The numbers didn't make sense at first. $2.3 billion. That's what the acquisition email said. My little software company, the one I'd built in this cramped bedroom for the past 5 years, was now worth more money than I could spend in 10 lifetimes. But let me back up a bit. Because this story doesn't start with money. It starts with friendship. Real friendship. The kind you think will last forever. Her name was Jessica, and we met during our first week of college. I was this awkward computer science major who couldn't talk to people without stuttering, and she was this bright, charismatic business student who somehow decided I was worth her time. We clicked instantly. While other people were out partying, we'd stay up until 3 in the morning in the library. She'd quiz me on coding algorithms, and I'd help her understand financial statements. We were a team. I loved those days. Jessica had this way of making everything feel possible. When I doubted myself, which was pretty much always, she'd look me straight in the eye and say, "David, you're going to do amazing things. I just know it." And I believed her because she believed in me. We were inseparable for 3 years. Every birthday, every bad breakup, every failed exam, we were there for each other. I remember when her mom got sick during sophomore year. Jessica was falling apart, missing classes, couldn't focus on anything. I drove her to the hospital every single day for 2 months. I brought her food because she kept forgetting to eat. I helped her catch up on all her assignments. That's what friends do, right? You show up, you help. No questions asked. She told me back then that I was her family, her real family. She said blood doesn't make you family, loyalty does. I held on to those words like they were precious gems, but then everything shifted during our senior year. His name was Brandon, and he walked into our favorite coffee shop like he owned the place. Maybe he did. His family owned half the commercial real estate in the city. Designer suit, expensive watch, the kind of confidence that comes from never worrying about money a single day in your life. Jessica noticed him immediately. I could see it in her eyes, that spark of interest mixed with something else. Ambition, maybe. They started dating within a week. At first, I was happy for her. Jessica deserved someone who treated her well. But Brandon didn't like me. He made that clear from the start. "So you're the computer nerd she's always talking about," he said the first time we met, looking me up and down like I was something stuck to his shoe. "What's your plan after graduation? Tech support?" I laughed it off, but Jessica didn't defend me. That should have been my first warning sign. The comments got worse over time. Brandon would make jokes about my clothes, my car, my lack of ambition. He'd do it with this smile like he was just kidding around, but everyone knew he wasn't. And slowly, Jessica started joining in. Just little things at first. She'd cancel our weekly dinner plans because Brandon had something better lined up. She'd roll her eyes when I talked about my startup ideas. She started calling me too serious and boring. I told myself it was just the honeymoon phase. She'd come back around. We were best friends. That meant something. Then came the engagement party. Brandon proposed 6 months after they started dating, and Jessica said yes. The party was at his family's mansion, this massive place with marble floors and crystal chandeliers. I wore my best suit, the one I'd bought for job interviews. It cost me $200, which felt like a fortune back then. I brought a nice gift, a photo album I'd made filled with pictures from our 4 years of friendship. I was genuinely happy for her. I arrived early because Jessica had asked me to. "I need you there, David," she'd said on the phone. "You're my best friend. This wouldn't feel right without you." But when I walked in, something felt off. People kept staring at me. Brandon's friends would whisper and laugh as I passed. I found Jessica in the main hall, surrounded by her new social circle. Women in dresses that cost more than my monthly rent. Men who all looked like different versions of Brandon. "Jess," I called out, waving. She saw me. I know she did. Her face went pale for just a second before she turned away and kept talking to her friends. I thought maybe she didn't hear me, so I walked over. "Hey, congratulations," I said, reaching for a hug. Jessica stepped back. Actually stepped back like I was contagious. "David," she said, her voice cold. "What are you doing here?" I laughed nervously. "You invited me, remember? You said you needed me here." Brandon appeared beside her, putting his arm around her waist possessively. "There must be some confusion," he said smoothly. This is a private event for family and real friends, not just anyone from Jessica's past. My stomach dropped. Jess? She wouldn't look at me. She stared at the floor, at the walls, anywhere but my face. Jessica, I said again, my voice breaking. Finally, she met my eyes. And what I saw there crushed me. Embarrassment. Like I was something shameful she wanted to hide. David. I think it's better if you go, she said quietly. Brandon's right. This isn't really your scene. We've both moved on to different places in our lives. You're stuck doing your little computer hobby in that tiny apartment. I'm starting a real life now, with real opportunities. I can't keep dragging around unsuccessful baggage from my past. It's not fair to Brandon or his family. The room went silent. Everyone was watching, waiting to see what I'd do. I wanted to scream. I wanted a reminder of everything we'd been through. Every late night, every crisis, every moment I'd been there when no one else was. But I didn't. Because standing there, looking at this person who used to be my best friend, I realized something. She'd already made her choice. And I wasn't it. I placed the photo album on a nearby table and walked out. I didn't run. I didn't cry. Not yet. I kept my head up and walked through that mansion like I had every right to be there. Because I did. I was a good person. I was a loyal friend. And if she couldn't see that, that was her loss, not mine. But the moment I got to my car, I broke down. I sat in that parking lot for an hour sobbing like a kid. 4 years of friendship gone in 30 seconds, dismissed like I was nothing, like I'd never mattered at all. That night changed me. Not in the way you might think, though. I didn't become cruel or bitter. I became focused, determined. I made myself a promise sitting in that car with tears running down my face. I would succeed, not to prove her wrong, not to make her regret it, but to prove to myself that I was worth something, that my value as a person wasn't determined by bank accounts or social status or designer clothes. I threw myself into my work. I'd been tinkering with this AI software idea for months, something that could help small businesses automate their customer service. It wasn't sexy or glamorous, but it worked. It really worked. I stopped sleeping. I stopped going out. Every free moment went into building, testing, improving. When my code failed, I'd debug it for 12 hours straight. When I ran out of money, I ate ramen and skipped meals. My friends, my real friends, worried about me. But they also supported me. They believed in me even when I didn't believe in myself. 18 months after that engagement party, I got my first real client, a small bakery that needed help managing online orders. They paid me $3,000. It felt like winning the lottery. 6 months after that, I had 20 clients, then 50, then 200. The breakthrough came 3 years in. A major tech company saw what I'd built and realized my software could revolutionize their entire customer support division. They wanted to buy it, all of it, the whole company. That's when I got the email with those impossible numbers, $2.3 billion. I sat in my apartment, the same tiny place I'd been living in since college, and I laughed. Not a happy laugh, a sad, ironic laugh, because I'd done it. I'd actually done it. I'd built something amazing. But the person I would have wanted to celebrate with first, the person who used to tell me I'd do amazing things, she'd thrown me away years ago. The weird thing about suddenly having money? It doesn't change who you are. Not really. I moved to a slightly bigger apartment, but nothing fancy. I bought a new laptop because my old one kept crashing. But I kept my beat-up Honda. I kept wearing regular jeans and plain t-shirts. I didn't want things. I wanted purpose. So I started giving it away quietly, anonymously. Kids who couldn't afford college got scholarships with no name attached. Hospitals got donations for research wings from an unnamed benefactor. Small businesses struggling to survive got mysterious grants. My lawyer thought I was crazy. You could buy anything, he'd say. Go anywhere. Do anything. But I didn't want to be the guy who flaunts his wealth. I'd seen what that looked like. I'd seen Brandon and his friends. Money had made them cruel and empty. I refused to become that. 5 years passed. I lived my quiet life, did my work, helped where I could. And I was genuinely happy. Not because of the money, but because I'd kept my promise to myself. I'd succeeded without losing who I was. I never tried to contact Jessica. Never looked her up on social media. Never asked mutual friends about her. That part of my life was over, or so I thought. It was a rainy Thursday morning when I decided to work from my favorite coffee shop instead of my apartment. This little place called The Grind had been around since my college days. Most people preferred the fancy chain cafes downtown, but I loved this spot. The owner, an older guy named Tom, knew everyone by name. The coffee was strong and honest, just like the place itself. No pretension. No overpriced drinks with 17 different customizations. I grabbed my usual corner table, ordered a black coffee, and pulled out my laptop. I was reviewing some grant applications for a youth coding program I'd been funding. 100 kids from low-income neighborhoods were learning programming skills completely free. Reading their essays about why they wanted to learn always reminded me why I did what I did. The bell above the door chimed. I didn't look up at first. Just another customer escaping the rain. Then I heard Tom's voice, uncertain and a bit awkward. "I'm sorry, miss, but we're cash only today. The card machine is down for repairs. I don't have cash," a woman's voice replied, tired, strained. "I just need a coffee, please. I have a job interview in an hour." Something about that voice made my skin prickle. I knew it. Even after 5 years, I knew it. I looked up slowly, and there she was, Jessica. But not the Jessica I remembered. That woman had worn confidence like armor, had walked into rooms like she owned them. This Jessica looked broken. Her designer coat, the one that probably cost thousands when she bought it, was worn at the edges and outdated by at least 3 seasons. Her hair, which used to be perfectly styled, was pulled back in a messy ponytail. She had dark circles under her eyes that makeup couldn't quite hide. Her hands shook slightly as she clutched her wallet. She hadn't seen me yet. She was too focused on Tom, too desperate for that coffee. "Tom," I called out. "Her coffee's on me. And get her whatever she wants to eat, too." Jessica's head whipped around so fast I heard her neck crack. Her eyes went wide when she recognized me. For a moment, neither of us moved. The coffee shop seemed to freeze in time. "David?" she whispered, like she couldn't believe I was real. I nodded, gesturing to the empty chair across from me. "Hi, Jess. You can sit if you want." She stood there for what felt like forever, clearly wrestling with herself. Pride versus need. Shame versus desperation. Finally, need won. She walked over slowly like she was approaching a wild animal that might bolt. "Thank you," she said quietly, sitting down without meeting my eyes. "For the coffee, I mean. I'll pay you back." "Don't worry about it," I said, keeping my voice neutral. Not warm, not cold. Just factual. Tom brought over a coffee and a blueberry muffin. Jessica stared at the food like she hadn't eaten in days. Maybe she hadn't. We sat in awkward silence. I went back to my laptop, giving her space, letting her be the one to speak first if she wanted to. She picked at the muffin, taking tiny bites, trying to maintain some dignity. I noticed her clothes were clean but threadbare. Her shoes had been expensive once but were now scuffed and worn. She carried a designer purse that was probably 7 or 8 years old. "So," she finally said, her voice barely above a whisper, "you still live around here?" "Yeah," I replied, not offering more. If she wanted details, she'd have to ask. "That's good. Stability. That's good." She was rambling nervously. "I'm actually in the area for a job interview. Administrative assistant position. The pay isn't great, but anything helps right now." I nodded but said nothing. I wasn't going to make this easy for her, but I also wasn't going to be cruel. "You look good," she continued, desperation creeping into her voice. "Same old David, still got that old Honda?" "Yep." "Still doing the computer stuff?" "Yep." The one-word answers were killing her. I could see it. She needed me to engage, to open a door she could walk through. But I wasn't ready for that. Maybe I'd never be ready for that. She took a long sip of coffee, gathering courage. "Look, I know this is awkward. I know we haven't talked in years." "I know," her voice cracked. "I know I don't deserve to even be sitting here right now." I closed my laptop and looked at her directly for the first time. Really looked at her. The brokenness wasn't just in her appearance. It was in her eyes. Something fundamental had shattered inside her. "What happened, Jessica?" I asked simply. She laughed, but it was bitter and hollow. "What didn't happen? You want the short version or the long version? Whichever one you need to tell." She took a shaky breath. "Brandon's company was a fraud. Everything. The real estate empire his family bragged about was built on lies and fake investors. Federal investigators raided our house 2 years ago, arrested him right in front of me. The trial was all over the news. They seized everything. The house, the cars, the bank accounts, everything. I felt a twinge of sympathy despite myself. I'm sorry. That must have been rough. It gets worse, she continued, tears forming in her eyes. I had signed a prenup. Everything was in his name. When it all got seized, I was left with nothing. Zero, not a dollar. And the divorce. God, the divorce was brutal. His lawyers painted me as this gold digger who knew about the fraud. I swear I didn't, but no one believed me. She wiped her eyes roughly with her sleeve. All those friends I had, the society people, they vanished overnight. No one returns my calls. No one wants to be associated with the scandal. I applied to 73 jobs, David. 73. And you know what happens? They Google my name and find all the articles about the trial. No one will hire me. I listened without interrupting. Part of me, the part that still hurt from that engagement party, felt a dark satisfaction. Karma had caught up with her. But another part of me, the part that remembered late-night study sessions and hospital visits, just felt sad. Sad for what we'd both lost. I got evicted from my apartment last month, she went on. I'm staying with a former coworker who barely tolerates me. I'm running out of options. I'm running out of everything. She looked at me then, really looked at me with those desperate eyes. I know I have no right to ask you for anything. I know what I did to you. I replay that night at the engagement party in my head every single day. The look on your face when I told you to leave. God, David, I was so cruel. I was so stupid. Before I could respond, Tom came over to our table. Hey, David, I hate to interrupt, but I wanted to thank you again for what you did last month. That donation you made, the $15,000, it saved this place. We were going to close. I was going to lose the shop my father built 40 years ago. But you kept us alive. You're a real hero, man. He clapped me on the shoulder warmly and walked away, leaving Jessica staring at me with confusion written all over her face. $15,000? She repeated slowly. You donated $15,000? I shrugged. Tom needed help. The coffee shop is important to the community. But that's a lot of money, David. I mean, how do you... She stopped, the gears turning in her head. What exactly do you do now? For work? Consulting, I said vaguely. It wasn't a lie. I did consult for various tech companies. I just didn't mention that I was also a billionaire. Consulting must pay really well, she said, her tone shifting slightly. I recognized that tone. It was calculation, assessment, figuring out angles. I do okay, I replied carefully. She bit her lip, wrestling with something. Then she dove in. David, I'm going to be honest with you. I need help. I'm drowning here. I can't get a job. I can't pay rent. I can't afford food most days. I'm at rock bottom. I'm sorry you're going through this, I said, and I meant it. Despite everything, I didn't enjoy seeing another human being suffer. The thing is, she continued, leaning forward, we were best friends once. We were family. You said so yourself back in college, and I know I destroyed that. I know I don't deserve your kindness. But I'm begging you, if you could help me out, just a small loan, just enough to get back on my feet. Maybe $500? $1,000? There it was. The real reason she'd agreed to sit down. Not to apologize. Not to reconnect. To ask for money. I sat back in my chair, studying her. The old David, the one who loved her like a sister, wanted to say yes immediately. Wanted to fix her problems and make her pain go away. But I'd learned some hard lessons over the past 5 years. I'd learned that enabling people's dependency doesn't help them. It just postpones their growth. Jess, I said slowly, we haven't been friends for 5 years. You made that very clear. Her face crumpled. I know I did. And I hate myself for it every day. But David, please. I have nowhere else to turn. Everyone else has abandoned me. You're literally my last hope. What about your family? I asked. My parents disowned me when the scandal broke. Said I'd embarrassed them. My sister won't take my calls. What about finding a job outside your field? Retail? Food service? Something to get cash flowing? She looked offended. I have a business degree from a prestigious university. I can't work at a fast food place. And there it was. Even at rock bottom, even while begging, she still had that pride. that sense that certain work was beneath her. "Jess, I'm not your safety net," I said firmly, but not unkindly. "I'm not going to give you money." Her face turned red. Anger mixed with humiliation. "I can't believe this. After everything we were to each other, you won't help me? You have $15,000 to throw at a coffee shop, but you won't help your former best friend?" "The coffee shop serves 100 people a day," I replied calmly. "Tom has employees who depend on him, families who need those jobs. That money helped a community. You're asking me for money so you don't have to take a job you think is beneath you. Those are very different things." She stood up abruptly, chair scraping loudly against the floor. "You know what? You've changed, David. Money's made you cold. I remember when you were kind, when you actually cared about people." I stayed seated, looking up at her. "I am kind, Jess, but kindness isn't the same as being someone's ATM. You need to figure this out yourself." She grabbed her purse, hands shaking with rage or shame or both. "Fine, I don't need you anyway." "I don't need anyone." But she didn't leave. She stood there, tears streaming down her face, her resolve crumbling. "I'm scared, David," she whispered. "I'm so scared." "I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to survive." My heart softened a bit. "You're stronger than you think. You survived your mom's illness. You got through college. You can survive this too. But you have to actually try. Not just look for shortcuts or handouts." She nodded slowly, wiping her face. "You're right. I know you're right. I don't know where to start." "Start with that job interview. Take it seriously. And if you don't get it, apply for another one. And another one. Work your way back up. There's no shame in starting over." She took a shaky breath. Okay, I'll try." As she turned to leave, I almost called her back. Almost offered something, but I didn't. Because sometimes the kindest thing you can do for someone is let them stand on their own 2 feet. I watched her walk out into the rain, shoulders hunched, defeated but still moving forward. Tom came back over. "That was Jessica Hartwell, wasn't it? From the news?" "Yeah. You two have history?" "We used to be friends." "Long time ago," Tom nodded wisely. "Sometimes the hardest thing is watching people we care about struggle. But you did the right thing, kid. She needs to find her own way." I hoped he was right, because watching her walk away felt awful, even if it was necessary. What I didn't know was that this wouldn't be the last time I'd see her, not by a long shot. The next week was quiet. I went back to my routine, convinced I'd never see Jessica again. Part of me felt relieved. Part of me felt guilty. But mostly I just felt sad about the whole situation. What we'd had was real once, and watching it reduced to a desperate plea for cash in a coffee shop felt like mourning a death. I spent my days working from home, reviewing investment opportunities and planning my next charitable project. A children's hospital had reached out about needing new equipment for their cancer ward. The cost was steep, around $8 million, but kids' lives were on the line. It was an easy yes. On Tuesday, I went to my usual boxing gym. I'd started going 3 years ago, needing an outlet for stress that didn't involve staring at screens. The gym was in a rough neighborhood, nothing fancy. Just punching bags, a ring, and a bunch of regular people trying to stay healthy. No one there knew about my money. I was just David, the quiet guy who showed up consistently and worked hard. I was halfway through my workout, hitting the heavy bag with a steady rhythm, when I noticed her, Jessica, standing by the entrance in ill-fitting workout clothes that were clearly borrowed, watching me with an expression I couldn't quite read. My stomach sank. This wasn't a coincidence. I finished my combination and grabbed my water bottle, walking over to her slowly. "Jessica, what are you doing here?" "I joined yesterday," she said quickly. "The monthly membership was only $30. I figured exercise might help with the stress, you know? Clear my head." I didn't believe her for a second. This gym was across town from where she'd said she was staying, right? "And you just happened to pick this gym specifically?" She had the decency to look embarrassed. "Okay, fine. Maybe I asked Tom which gym you go to. But David, I'm not here to bother you. I just thought maybe if we kept running into each other, we could talk. Like old times. I miss having someone to talk to." "We're not friends anymore, Jess," I said, trying to keep my voice level. "You made that choice 5 years ago." "I know, but can't people change? Can't I earn back your trust?" Her eyes were pleading. But there was something else there, too. That calculation I'd seen in the coffee shop. Trust is earned over time through actions, not words, I replied. And definitely not by following me around. A flash of anger crossed her face before she controlled it. I'm not following you. I'm just trying to rebuild my life, and you're part of this neighborhood. Is it a crime to want to be around someone familiar? Before I could respond, my boxing coach Ray came over. Ray was a former professional fighter, built like a truck, with a heart bigger than his frame. He'd been training me since day one. David, my man, got some good news. That youth program you sponsored? We got 40 kids signed up. 40! These kids are learning discipline, getting off the streets, staying out of trouble. You're changing lives, brother. He pulled me into a bear hug, not noticing Jessica standing there with her mouth hanging open. That's great, Ray, I said, trying to downplay it. The kids are doing the real work. Nah, man. You funded the whole thing. Free memberships, equipment, coaching, even transportation for kids who can't get here. That's $100 grand you dropped without blinking. You're a real one. Ray finally noticed Jessica. Oh, sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. You training today? I nodded and Ray walked off, leaving Jessica staring at me like I'd grown a second head. $100,000? She whispered. David, what exactly do you do? Consulting doesn't pay that kind of money. Nobody just drops $100 grand on a youth boxing program. Some consulting pays very well, I said evasively. Look, I need to finish my workout, but she grabbed my arm. No, I want answers. How much money do you have? I pulled my arm free gently but firmly. That's none of your business. The hell it isn't. Her voice rose, drawing looks from other gym members. We were best friends. You owe me honesty at least. I don't owe you anything, Jessica. And you need to leave. She didn't leave. Instead, she started showing up everywhere. At the community center where I volunteered teaching coding to underprivileged kids. At the library where I sometimes worked. Even at the grocery store I frequented. Every time she'd act surprised to see me. Every time she'd try to start a conversation. And every time she'd eventually steer that conversation toward money. Just $10,000? David, that's nothing to you. $20,000 would change my life completely. $50,000, and I'd never ask for anything again. The amounts kept growing. Her desperation kept growing. And with it, her resentment when I said no. Friday night, I got dragged to a charity gala by my business partner, Amy. I hated these events. Rich people pretending to care about causes while really just networking and showing off. But this one was for youth education, something I genuinely cared about, and Amy insisted my presence would help. You donated $10 million, David, Amy had said on the phone. The least you can do is show up and let them thank you. It's good PR for the foundation. So I went, wearing an off-the-rack suit I'd bought 3 years ago. It was clean and appropriate, but nothing special. I looked more like someone who worked at the event than attended it, which was fine by me. I found a corner, grabbed some water, and tried to be invisible. The hotel ballroom was decorated elegantly. Crystal chandeliers, ice sculptures, tables with centerpieces that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. Men in tuxedos and women in gowns that cost thousands of dollars. I felt completely out of place, which was ironic considering. I could have bought the entire hotel without making a dent in my bank account. I was talking with a school principal about the scholarship program we'd funded when I heard a commotion near the entrance. Raised voices, security guards looking concerned. And then I saw her. Jessica, dressed in a gown that was beautiful but clearly outdated and didn't fit her quite right. She was arguing with security, waving some kind of paper, insisting she had an invitation. She didn't. I knew she didn't. This was a ticketed event, $2,000 a plate, and she'd crashed it. She was scanning the room desperately, looking for something. Then her eyes found me. Her face lit up with a mix of triumph and desperation. She pushed past the security guard and started walking straight toward me. Fast. People were staring. This was about to become a scene. David! She called out loudly. David, there you are! I've been looking everywhere for you. I stood frozen as she approached, my heart sinking. This was going to be bad. She reached me and immediately grabbed my arm possessively like we were together. Thank God. These security people were giving me such a hard time. I told them I was with you. Jessica, what are you doing here? I asked quietly, trying not to make a bigger scene. What am I doing here? What are you doing here? She looked around at the elegant surroundings, confusion written all over her face. How did you even afford a ticket? Did your consulting company send you? Before I could answer, her voice got louder, angrier. The stress of the past weeks was boiling over and she was losing control. You know what? I can't do this anymore, she practically shouted. People were definitely staring now. Conversations around us stopped. I've been begging you for help and you keep refusing. Penny pinching like you're broke when you're clearly not. We were best friends. We were family. You owe me! Jessica, please calm down, I said, my face burning with embarrassment. This isn't the place. This isn't the place. She laughed hysterically. When is the place, David? When is the time? I've tried everything. I've humbled myself. I've apologized. I've begged. And you just keep saying no. Security was moving toward us now. The event coordinator looked panicked. Just give me the money. Jessica's voice cracked with emotion. $100,000. That's all I need. Just enough to get back on my feet. Start over. You clearly have it. Stop pretending you don't. She grabbed my jacket with both hands now, shaking me slightly. Tears were streaming down her face, but her expression was twisted with anger and desperation. You're nobody, David. You've always been nobody. Just some computer nerd who got lucky with a job. Stop acting like you're better than me. Stop acting like you're too good to help me. You're not special. You're not important. You're just, Ms. Hartwell, please. A voice cut through her tirade. The event coordinator, a woman in her 50s wearing a professional smile that didn't reach her eyes, had arrived with security. You need to stop this immediately. You're disturbing Mr. Chen and our guests. Mr. Chen? Jessica looked at the coordinator like she was insane. This is David Rodriguez. He's a freelance consultant or whatever. He's probably just here working tech support or something. The coordinator's expression shifted to confusion. Ma'am, Mr. David Chen is our keynote speaker this evening and the single largest benefactor to our education initiative. He donated $10 million to fund scholarships for underprivileged students. The blood drained from Jessica's face. 10 million? A man in an expensive suit approached. Someone I recognized as a portfolio manager from one of the firms that handled part of my investments. David, good to see you, buddy. Hey, listen. I know you like to keep things low-key, but you really should upgrade that car. My firm is managing, what, 400 million of your portfolio? You can afford something nicer than a 2008 Honda. Jessica's grip on my jacket loosened. She stepped back like I'd struck her. Another woman joined our growing circle, the director of the Children's Hospital. Mr. Chen, I wanted to personally thank you for the Cancer Research Wing donation. $8 million is going to save so many young lives. The groundbreaking ceremony is next month. I hope you'll attend. Each new piece of information hit Jessica like a physical blow. Her face went from pale to red to pale again. Her hands were shaking. Her breathing became rapid and shallow. You're the anonymous donor? She whispered. All those articles about the mysterious billionaire philanthropist who won't reveal his identity. That's you? I said nothing. What was there to say? A tech CEO I'd consulted for approached. Chen, didn't expect to see you at one of these things. Still living in that tiny apartment? Man, you're the only billionaire I know who lives like a college student. Most humble guy in Silicon Valley. The word billionaire seemed to echo through the sudden silence around us. Jessica's legs gave out. She actually collapsed, falling to her knees on the marble floor, staring up at me with an expression of complete shock and horror. Billionaire, she repeated numbly. You're a billionaire. This whole time, when I was begging you for hundreds, for thousands, you're a billionaire. The entire ballroom had gone quiet now. Everyone was watching. Some were recording on their phones. This was going to be all over social media within the hour. Ms. Hartwell, the security chief said firmly but not unkindly, I need you to leave the premises now, voluntarily, or we'll have to escort you out. Your choice. But Jessica didn't seem to hear him. She was still on her knees, staring at me with tears streaming down her face, her entire worldview crashing down around her. I threw you away, she said, her voice barely audible. I called you worthless. I chose Brandon's money over your friendship. And the whole time you were worth more than all of them combined. The security team moved forward, ready to physically remove Jessica from the ballroom. The guests were murmuring, some looking uncomfortable, others clearly enjoying the drama. I saw phones pointed in our direction, recording everything. This moment would define Jessica for years to come if I let it play out this way. And despite everything she'd done to me, despite the years of hurt and the weeks of harassment, I couldn't let that happen. "Wait," I said quietly to the security chief. He paused, looking at me questioningly. "Give us a moment, please. There's a private room somewhere we can use?" The event coordinator nodded quickly, eager to get this scene away from her guests. "The Windsor room. Down the hall, second door on the left. Take all the time you need, Mr. Chen." I reached down and helped Jessica to her feet. She was trembling, unable to meet my eyes, mascara running down her cheeks in black streaks. She looked utterly destroyed. I guided her through the crowd, feeling every eye on us, hearing the whispers that followed like a wave. The Windsor room was a small conference space, elegantly furnished but private. I closed the door behind us and the silence was deafening. Jessica stood in the middle of the room, hugging herself, looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Then she broke. Completely, utterly broke. She sank into a chair and sobbed like I'd never heard anyone sob before. Not delicate tears, but raw, gut-wrenching cries that shook her whole body. Years of pain and regret and shame pouring out all at once. I stood by the door, watching, waiting. I wasn't going to comfort her. That wasn't my job anymore. But I also wasn't going to abandon her in this state. So I waited. It took almost 10 minutes for her crying to slow down enough for her to speak. "I destroyed everything," she said, her voice hoarse and broken. "Everything real. Everything that mattered. For what? For a man who turned out to be a criminal? For a lifestyle that was built on lies? For people who dropped me the second things got hard?" She looked up at me finally, her face blotchy and swollen. "You were the realest thing in my life, David. The one person who actually cared about me. Not what I could do for them or how I made them look. And I threw you away like you were garbage, like you meant nothing." "Yeah," I said simply. "You did." She flinched at my words, but she didn't argue. I've replayed that engagement party 1,000 times in my head. The look on your face when I told you to leave. You weren't angry. You were just heartbroken. And I did that to you. I broke your heart because I was embarrassed by you, by my best friend. Because Brandon made me feel like being kind and loyal was somehow weak. I moved to sit in a chair across from her, maintaining distance but giving her my attention. "Why, Jess, that's what I never understood. We had something real. Why wasn't that enough?" She wiped her face with the back of her hand, smearing her makeup even more. "Because I was scared. My whole life, I watched my parents struggle with money. We lost our house when I was 12. I wore secondhand clothes and got made fun of at school. I swore I'd never be poor again. Never feel that shame again. And when Brandon came along with his money and his connections and his promises of security, I thought I'd finally made it. I thought I was safe." "So you traded real love for false security," I said. "I traded everything for false security," she corrected. "My values. My integrity. You. Everything that actually made me who I was. I became this hollow thing, playing a part, trying to fit into a world that never really wanted me anyway. And the whole time I knew it was wrong. I knew I was losing myself. But I was too scared to stop. Too proud to admit I'd made a mistake." She took a shaky breath. When everything fell apart with Brandon, when I lost it all, part of me felt relieved. Like I could finally stop pretending. But then reality hit. I had no money, no skills that mattered, no real friends. I'd burned every genuine bridge I had. And I realized I'd destroyed my life chasing something that was never real to begin with. "Is that why you came looking for me?" I asked. "Because you needed money? Or because you realized what you'd lost?" She was quiet for a moment, really thinking about it. "Both, if I'm being honest. At first, it was mostly about the money. I was desperate, and you were the one person who might help. But the more I saw you, the more I remembered who we used to be together, the more I realized what I'd actually lost. It wasn't about the money you could give me. It was about the person I used to be when I was with you, the better version of myself. But you kept asking for money," I pointed out. "You kept pushing, following me around, making scenes." "I know." Fresh tears rolled down her cheeks. "Because I'm still that scared person. Still trying to find security in all the wrong places. I thought if I just had some money, I could fix everything. Start over. be okay again. But the truth is, money isn't going to fix what's broken inside me. Brandon's money didn't make me happy. Your money wouldn't make me happy. I have to fix myself, and I have no idea how to do that. I sat back, processing everything she'd said. There was real self-awareness there, genuine remorse. But there was also still that underlying fear, that desperation that made her act in ways she knew were wrong. You humiliated yourself out there, I said gently, in front of hundreds of people. It's probably already on social media. By tomorrow, everyone will know Jessica Hartwell crashed a charity gala and begged a billionaire for money. She nodded miserably. I know, I deserve it. I deserve all of it. Maybe, I said. Or maybe you just deserve a chance to do better. But Jess, I can't be the one to save you. You have to save yourself. I don't know how, she whispered. I'm so lost, David. I don't know who I am anymore. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Everything feels impossible. I was quiet for a long time, wrestling with myself. Part of me wanted to walk away, let her face the consequences of her actions alone. She'd made her choices. She'd have to live with them. But another part of me, the part that still remembered the girl who sat with me in the library at 3 a.m, who held my hand at my grandmother's funeral, who believed in me when I didn't believe in myself, that part couldn't just abandon her. I'm going to do something, I said slowly. And I need you to listen very carefully to why I'm doing it and what the conditions are. Her eyes widened with desperate hope. Anything. David, I'll do anything. I pulled out my phone and opened my banking app, then wrote a check on my checkbook that I kept in my jacket pocket. $25,000. I held it in my hand, not giving it to her yet. This money is not for you, I said firmly. Let me be crystal clear about that. This is not a reward for what you did to me. This is not me validating your behavior or saying what you did was okay. It's not. She nodded, not interrupting. This money is for who you used to be. The Jessica who helped me through my panic attacks before big exams. The Jessica who worked 2 jobs to help pay for her mom's medical bills. The Jessica who volunteered at homeless shelters and actually cared about people. That person is still in there somewhere, buried under all the fear and desperation and bad choices. This money is an investment in the possibility that she might come back. I handed her the check. Here are the conditions. You use this to get a modest apartment. Nothing fancy, just safe and clean. You use it to buy professional clothes for job interviews. You use it to survive while you get back on your feet. That's it. No designer anything. No trying to recapture your old lifestyle. You start from scratch, and you do it honestly. Jessica took the check with shaking hands, staring at it like it was a life raft in a stormy sea. Second condition, I continued. You take whatever job you can get. I don't care if it's retail or food service or cleaning houses. You work, you support yourself. You rebuild your life from the ground up with your own hands and your own effort. This $25,000 is to give you a foundation. Everything else you earn. I will, she said, her voice thick with emotion. I swear I will. Third condition, and this is the most important one. We're not friends. Maybe we never will be again. I'm not doing this because I've forgiven you or because we're going to go back to how things were. That's gone, Jess. You killed that 5 years ago. I'm doing this because I refuse to let your choices turn me into someone cold and bitter. I refuse to let your betrayal change who I am at my core. I'm a person who helps people when I can. That's my choice, not yours. She nodded, tears streaming down her face again, but quieter now. I understand. And thank you. Thank you for being a better person than I deserve. You're right, I said honestly. You don't deserve this. But that's not why I'm doing it. I'm doing it because it's who I am. And nothing, not your betrayal, not these 5 years, not any of it, is going to change that about me. I stood up, preparing to leave. There's one more thing you need to understand. If you come back asking for more money, the answer is no. If you waste this opportunity, I won't give you another one. This is it, Jessica. Your one chance to prove that the person I used to know still exists somewhere. Don't waste it. I won't, she said, standing as well. David, I know I can't fix what I broke between us. I know saying sorry doesn't come close to making up for what I did, but I am sorry. I'm so deeply, truly sorry for every horrible thing I said and did. You deserved so much better than how I treated you. Yeah, I did, I agreed. And you deserve better than how you've treated yourself. Stop chasing security and status and other people's approval. Figure out what actually matters to you. Build a life based on that. Be the person you're supposed to be, not the person you think you need to be to impress people who don't actually care about you. I walked to the door, then paused with my hand on the handle. For what it's worth, I hope you figure it out. I hope you find yourself again. Not for my sake, but for yours. Because the Jessica I knew was someone worth knowing. She was kind and funny and brave. I'd like to think that person isn't completely gone. I'll find her again, Jessica said quietly. I promise. Even if it takes years, even if you never see it, I'll find her again. I nodded and left the room, walking back through the ballroom where the gala was still going on. People stared, whispered, but I ignored them. Amy intercepted me near the exit. That was intense, she said carefully. You okay? Yeah, I said, and I meant it. I'm okay. I did what I needed to do. You're a good person, David Chen, Amy said, squeezing my shoulder. A better person than most people in this room would have been in your situation. I shrugged. I'm just trying to stay true to who I am. That's all any of us can do, right? I left the gala and drove home in my beat-up Honda, past luxury cars worth more than most houses. I went back to my modest apartment, heated up some leftover pizza, and sat on my second-hand couch. My phone buzzed with notifications. Texts from people at the gala, social media alerts about videos of the scene. I turned it off. The truth was, I didn't need Jessica to thank me or validate me or even change. I'd given her that money for me, not for her, to prove to myself that her betrayal hadn't hardened my heart, that I could still be kind even when kindness wasn't deserved, that I could stay human. 6 months later, I got an email. No subject line, just a message from an address I didn't recognize. But I knew who it was from. David, I won't ask how you are. I don't have that right. I just wanted you to know I've finished a financial counseling certification program. I'm working with people who are going through bankruptcy, helping them avoid the mistakes I made. The pay isn't great, but the work matters. I'm helping people, really helping them. Not for status or recognition, but because it's right. I'm still finding my way back to who I used to be, but I'm getting there. Thank you for giving me the chance. You didn't have to, but you did. And I'm not going to waste it. I hope you're well. I hope you're happy. You deserve all the good things in this world. Jay, I read it twice, then closed my laptop. I didn't respond. Maybe I would someday. Maybe I wouldn't. But I felt something loosen in my chest, some knot of old hurt finally beginning to untangle. I'd done the right thing. Not the easy thing. Not the thing that felt satisfying in the moment. But the right thing. And that mattered more than revenge ever could. Because at the end of the day, staying true to who you are, staying human, staying kind, staying real, that's the ultimate victory. Not over someone else, but over the worst parts of yourself. Over bitterness and cruelty and the temptation to let hurt turn you into something you're not. Jessica thought my revenge would be rubbing my success in her face, humiliating her publicly, making her suffer. But she was wrong. My revenge was simpler and more powerful than that. My revenge was refusing to let her betrayal change me, refusing to let billions of dollars corrupt me, refusing to become the kind of person who kicks others when they're down. My revenge was staying David, just David, the same guy who cared about people, who helped when he could, who lived simply and gave generously and measured success, not in dollars but in dignity. That was my victory. And no amount of money, no public humiliation, no cosmic karma could ever feel as good as knowing I'd stayed true to myself. In the end, that's what being human is all about. Not winning, not being right, not getting revenge, just choosing, every single day, to be the person you want to be in a world that constantly pushes you to be someone else. And if that's not a fuck yeah humanity moment, I don't know what is.